Frank,
Dan,
before we start the show, I just want to talk briefly about the conference on death, grief, and belief that is coming up in July. You and I are going to be talking. We're given the keynote.
My God,
it's July 15th through the 17th of this year. It is in person. We will be in Portland, Oregon for this. And I just wanted to make sure that our listeners remember about it. If they want to go and sign up and attend the whole conference, they can get $25 off the general admission price by just entering the code TGIA. So definitely do that. This is going to be a really good conference. Seth Andrews from The Thinking Atheist is also going to be there. It's really a lot of talk about death and grieving without a lot of the religious nonsense, which will be a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. What's the website, Dan? Where do people go?
So you can go to deathgriefandbelief.com for all the info. But there's another website that I want to tell people about really quickly. Sorry that this is a pre-roll thing, but it's actually important. We're gonna have a party after you and I, Frank, give our talk on that Friday. There will be or is it Saturday? I don't know. One of the days. Right. There's going to be an after party. So if you go to atheistafterparty.com, you can sign up for that. That will be free of charge. It's you'll pay for your own drinks and everything, but it's free. We'll be there. Seth Andrews will be there. You get to meet us. We can just chat. And also you can also sign up, I think, just to hear us talk, Frank, on that evening.
That's pretty cool.
So go to
the whole thing.
Go to the whole thing. But if you can't do that, if you're in the Portland area, or even if you just want an excuse to come to the Portland area, go to atheistafterparty.com, and that'll take you to a place where you can sign up for the after party, or go to deathgriefandbelief.com to find the whole conference. And we'll see you in Portland. Yeah. Let's do a show.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
it's Thank God I'm Atheist,
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, oh my God, an absolute incredible revelation, so to speak, about the Mormon Church and their vast holdings. There's more information that came out, and there are...
I would call it an entirely credible revelation myself.
And it is ridiculous what
we're going hard on Mormonism this week. But trust me, it's going to be worth it, you guys. There's a lot. The Mormons, woo! There's a lot going on with the Mormons right now.
Yeah, and we'll get to that Mormon stuff. But first, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan.
Oh no!
Such sad news. At least from the perspective of the American Bible Society, whose recent survey has found a, quote, unprecedented drop in Bible reading.
Oh, no!
Oh, how sad for them.
Yeah.
No.
It's very, that's sad for me too, because I personally feel like there's very little that can make a person like a non-believer faster than actually earnestly reading that book.
Well, I think the two things are probably happening kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
People reading their Bibles and not believing, and the numbers go down because here are the numbers. Last year, 2021, 50% of Americans, when surveyed, were Bible users.
Oh,
50%. However, this year, the number of Bible users, which we'll get to how they define Bible user in a minute.
What they mean by that?
Yeah, but the number of Bible users accounts for just 39% of the adult population.
Whoa!
So an 11% drop.
That's a big drop.
They're
not messing around.
Big drop. It's the lowest number in, I think they said over a decade, maybe more.
Wow.
So their definition of Bible user, because this is choice. Okay.
I love the term Bible user. It makes it seem like it's a drug. Hello, my name is Dan. I've used the Bible for 15 years of my life. It ruined everything. Everybody's like, hi, Dan.
Oh, and then you tell your little story.
You do your 12-step.
Oh my God, you apologize. You go around and apologize to all the people you hurt because you read the Bible. This is actually a really good idea, Dan.
We need it. You've got some apologies. You went on a mission. You've got some apologizing to do.
No, please don't make me do that. A Bible user is someone who uses the Bible at least 3 to 4 times a year.
No, you're saying uses. We're not talking about a doorstop, though.
Yeah.
Like,
but they
people use the Bible for rolling papers sometimes, but that's not what we're talking. We're talking about like reading the Bible for some sort of spiritual edification or something.
Yeah, to find an answer to a deeply held question and to like to become a better person, even, Dan. Yeah. That's what people use the Bible for.
The thing is, if they asked me, if they were polling and they asked me if I've read the Bible at least 3 or 4 times this year, yeah, I'm all over that thing.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I wouldn't say you're using it in the way that they would define it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing it recreationally.
Yeah.
I'm not the way that a prescription would have you do it.
Yeah. Part of the survey, Dan, asked the question, how do you think our country would be without the Bible? And I guess they laid out a hypothetical scenario where nobody read the Bible at all. 45% of respondents indicated that they thought the United States would be worse off without the Bible. This is a down from last year when 54% believe that the U.S. would be
under
worse
50% were like, it'd be bad. It'd be worse. It'd definitely be worse. Yeah. What? Okay. Continue. Yeah. More numbers.
More numbers. 41% of respondents said that the country would be about the same without the Bible.
So 40% of Americans are like, their response to there's no more Bible. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's an increase from 33% who said that in 2021. Yeah. And the share of Americans who think the U.S. would be better off without the Bible remained the same.
Oh.
That's a disappointment. What? 14%.
Yeah,
in both years.
That's just us.
That's us. We're out here.
You and me and all of our listeners are 14%. And then the rest of it is just it makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. I'm loving that 40% of our population is like, no, it's not going to change anything. Nobody actually cares what it says. Like, people read it a little bit, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's amazing. So good.
There you go. Those are big numbers in my mind. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I love this. The where we're at right now. I mean, the pandemic was a horrible thing to live through. But if we get one good thing from this, it's people not going to church because they just felt like they had to for a year or for 2 years at this point. Right. And so, and then getting into the habit and forming new habits of not going and realizing it's not the end of the world. And actually those judgmental assholes, who at church, who always made them feel bad about themselves, that they're just jerks. They don't need those people in their lives.
Well, and all of these pastors showing their true colors.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't care about the health and safety of my parishioners. I care about you guys coming to church and giving me your money.
It's absolutely. Yeah.
So there you go. Well, speaking of church, the Mormons, as we alluded to last week, I think we did, had their general conference.
Oh yeah, we mentioned it. Yep.
This last weekend. Mercifully, I was able to avoid watching any of it. It is a painful thing to watch. But I actually saw like posts on Facebook by Mormons.
Oh no.
There was somebody in the Salt Lake Tribune, a Mormon who was a columnist for the Salt Lake Tribune, wrote a whole thing about like, can we punch this up a little bit? Wrote a thing about how boring, how crap General Conference is.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. It is crap. It is, and it was, I thought it was supposed to be torture. I thought that was the intention of it when I was a kid.
Oh wait, do they think they're actually putting on a show? Do these octogenarians and nonagarians or whatever, do they actually think they're putting on like a 3-ring circus? But their energy levels are just like inside they're doing big dance numbers. You know,
when I learned that Mormons are like, when I started to hear other churches playing hymns that have the same tune as Mormon hymns, and I started to hear how fast they were, I was like, whoa, Speedy, slow it down. What are you doing? And then I realized, oh no, we're the wrong ones.
Not everything has to be a drone.
It doesn't all have to be, a song doesn't have to take 42 minutes to get through.
You have to fill the 3 hours of, or I guess it's 2 hours of church now. You have to fill it somehow, Dan.
You got to fill it. You got to fill it.
You can either sing slowly or listen to Sister Johansson go on forever. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So might as well sing slow. Matter of fact, slow it down. Slow it down. I don't need to hear that talk by Sister so-and-so. So anyway, General Conference is just, the top brass of the church getting up and droning on about the same, making up stories about faith uplifting stories. So and they're literally just lying the whole time, but they're illustrating good points, and they're using this mode of speaking, and it's always gotta be like this. Anyway, so the prophet of the church got up and spoke and said some things about, don't be contentious and forgive people and be nice to people and really avoid hurting anybody. He laid that down pretty thick. And then in the same session of conference, Dallin Oaks, the second ranking member of the top brass of the Mormon church, got up and made sure to let everybody know that, by the way, we do still hate the gays and the trans people. Yeah. Let's just be clear. Nothing. Yes, he said be nice and don't hurt anybody, but
that doesn't mean
nothing has changed about that. Literally said that the highest level of salvation, quote, can only be attained through faithfulness to the covenants of an eternal marriage between a man and a woman, not adding, or a man and lots of women, which is also still their professed theology.
Yeah, it's true.
He said, the divine doctrine is why we teach that gender is an essential characteristic of individual premortal, mortal, and eternal identity and purpose. So there you go. What he was really getting at was no gay, no trans.
Yeah. And what I think that they have a really easy answer for the trans question, right? If gender is eternal, right? And the person, here's a trans woman, right?
Yeah.
Like, but born with, a male body, then that seems to be eternal, right?
Yeah.
Like why? That seems like that could be an easy adaptation of their doctrine. Just be like, well, yeah, this trans woman was always a woman, even in the pre-existence.
Right. Exactly. Mormons talk a lot about the pre-existence and like Mormons have the 3 phases of our life: the pre-existence, now mortality, and then the post-mortal coil. And the interest, I think you're right that would be just such an easy pivot for them.
It just totally dovetails in. They don't have to change really a thing, right?
Well, they do. I mean, what they have to say is mortal bodies are just mortal. They're just, they are prone to problems. Obviously, we have people that have birth defects and various issues, but this person has recognized that their immortal soul has X gender attached to it.
Yeah.
It would be a pretty easy thing, but you'd have to have all of these fucking million-year-old dinosaurs
First
okay
wrap their
with
head
that.
around what it means
Wrap
to be
their
trans.
head around it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, you're right, that it would be easy. They could just say, look, we know that there are intersex people.
Yeah. Yes.
If- If, like, biological sex was God's big plan, where the fuck are they coming from then?
Yeah.
So obviously, the bodies are not just single gendered.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's the problem though. Your pivot doesn't account for the NBs of the world, the non-binary people. And
I'm not saying that it's a total
It's not
100% perfect fix, right?
Right.
I'm saying that I think that they could be
they could buy themselves another 15 years of not being dicks.
Yeah. I mean, they could do something totally mind-blowing that would just like make people just scratch their heads and just be cool with trans people while still being dicks to gay people. They could really get some headlines with that one.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be remarkable. If they accepted trans people and were like, no, we're still not okay with gays, though. that would be astounding.
I want it so bad. And I'm a gay man.
we need to start like making rumblings. We need to figure out how to get into those meetings and just be like, you guys need to do this.
You want? Seriously, guys, this would be an incredible PR move. People wouldn't know what to do with you.
They would literally, you would shut them down. They would not know what to say. They couldn't shit on you because you're accepting trans people, but they'd want to because you'd be in an amazing position. As it stands, no, they are way too old and out of touch for that. So instead, they're just going to continue their
Oh, golly.
hatred.
Yeah. And along those lines,
Goody! I love staying along those lines.
BYU, Brigham Young University, the Mormon
University,
Mormon University. They have a speech therapy program, and they have a clinic that their master's program students are able to gain experience working in. Actual clients come in and they work with them, and one of the services that they had been providing was helping transgender clients adapt their voice.
Oh,
while they're transitioning, right?
that's nice.
And yeah, that is nice. You don't expect it from Brigham Young University.
No, not at all.
But sometimes you're a university, and
Right.
if you want those valuable,
to be accredited?
yeah, if you want that valuable accreditation for your audiology and speech language pathology programs, then you have to kind of comply with the standards of the Council on Academic Accreditation in Audiology and Speech Language Pathology.
They're basically the ones that get to determine if the kids coming out with degrees mean anything.
Exactly.
Like, if they get to keep working.
Exactly.
So it's kind of important.
Yes. And that organization is now investigating BYU and looking into whether or not their master's program remains in compliance, because the school has officially instructed the program to turn away the transgender clients.
Of course they have.
And Todd Hellingshead, the BYU spokesperson, boy, he really goes for it in this
Okay.
line that he has about the school no longer providing gender affirming voice and communication services for any individual. He says not just transgender clients, right? I think that one's okay. BYU
he's not satisfied just stopping there.
Yeah. BYU is
just discriminate against one group.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Listen to it. BYU is no longer providing gender affirming voice and communication services for any individual, not just transgender people.
Wait. If I am a man who wants to sound more like a man, and for whatever reason needs help with that, that's not okay either.
That's not okay either. That's the length that they're going to try to say that, no, we're being consistent here. That's just something we don't do.
Oh my God. They thought they could get around it. That's amazing.
They don't. They literally told poor Todd Hollingshead, give it your best. That's what he came up with. He's like, you got to defend this. Nothing about it is good. Just come up with something. And he's just like, well, we don't provide it for anyone.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So multiple groups are looking at BYU right now. Obviously advocacy groups and academic freedom groups and all sorts of all that kind of stuff.
Woo!
Are peeved.
Yeah.
As they should be.
I hope they lose their accreditation. I feel bad for people, kids that shelled out money for degrees that might turn into worthlessness.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't go to BYU.
Yeah.
Is the answer for that.
And also, if you are at BYU right now and you're in some corner of the university where you're like, I really can't believe how liberal my program is, all things considered, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to last, guys. They're coming for all of these different programs. They
Transfer your credits now.
Go someplace while they're still worth anything. Get out.
Yeah.
If you're at BYU, you're a good student, probably had decent SAT or ACT scores. Go someplace else.
Go somewhere else. All right. We're done with the Mormons for a second. Just one little second, because I'm going to talk about, I don't know if you've heard about this, Frank.
What's that?
But there seems to be a bit of a dust up over to the Ukraine.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit of a kerfuffle seems to have erupted over in those parts. And yeah, obviously there's a big war there and medicine is needed. And here's the thing. I got to give some credit where it's due, because Franklin Graham and his Samaritan's Purse group have gone out there. They have set up a field hospital and 3 different clinics in Ukraine, actually in the country itself, kind of far from where a lot of the fighting is, closer to the Polish border. But they're actually working on moving further in and actually helping people further in. So,
all right.
I think that's great. I think that's actually a useful thing for a church to be doing. So I'm glad of that. However,
I was waiting. I was like, there must be another shoe somewhere.
There must be. I was reading an article about it in Religion News Service. And the thing that they don't mention is how clear Franklin Graham's intention is, and Samaritan Purse in general. Their intention is to proselytize to the people while they're getting their medical treatment.
Oh, what?
To the point where Franklin Graham actually tweeted, and I responded to this. This was a few weeks ago. Tweeted, quote, "The safest place in the world is in the center of God's will. I really believe that medical care a lot of times is God's tool to allow us to connect to people and share the gospel.
God, that's sick.
So, yeah,
Hey,
it's
injured
monstrous.
person.
And here's the thing. Most Ukrainians are already Christian.
Right.
So it's like not that big of a deal. But not all of them.
Yeah.
And certainly they're not all Franklin Graham brand Christians. Most
Right.
of them are Orthodox, which it's going to be fine. Like those people will be fine hearing a little Jesus talk. But you know what? Fuck you for doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing a good thing by going and helping.
Just let it be a good thing.
Just show the world that you're doing good.
Don't
Just do good.
Yeah. Don't
It
take
would be
advantage of these
amazing.
people. They're taking advantage of the situation.
are.
It's disgusting.
It's like when it's like Mormons on their missions who are trained
Mhm.
that your best bet for converting someone to the religion is finding someone who's at their most vulnerable.
Yeah, it's
Finding someone who is in deep grief
mhm,
or who is in deep crisis
mhm.
and then swoop in, baby.
Yeah. Literally says it in the missionary little handbook thing. It's like the best people to proselytize to are like those who just lost a loved one.
Yeah.
Like it said, like they spell it out.
Graham and these people are no better. They're literally exactly the same. Their whole goal is to get people in their tent, and while they're fixing them up, save them for Jesus.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a spiritual blackmail. It's gross.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
It's funny because I tweeted at Franklin Graham. He doesn't seem to have noticed. But I just said it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And then I pointed out that, like, imagine if your family member got medical treatment and then announced to the family that because the people that treated them were so great, they're joining Islam. Like, how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
If you would feel shitty about that, then you need to think about that before you do it. You're doing the same thing.
Yes,
And
but
someone,
Islam isn't the right church.
right? Yes,
Religion, I mean.
Right. Of course, I needed to think of that. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, I'm right, they're wrong. Therefore, whatever I do to save them is good.
Yeah. Somebody tweeted at me after I wrote that. They said, Christ tells us to share his gospel to all the world. If you disagree, your beef is with Christ. And I was like, I said, if he tells people to take advantage of the most vulnerable at their weakest moment, then yeah, I have a beef with him.
Oh, that's good. All right, Dan.
Okay.
Canada.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Been there a time or two.
You probably have heard of it. They are doing something because they have like doctor assisted death,
They
right?
do. I know someone who engaged it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
mean, not anymore. He's dead.
well, yeah, that makes sense because that's what happens with death.
With doctor-assisted suicide, yeah. You end up dead at the end of it.
Yeah, so they're and they're not alone in that. There's a number of there are even places in the United States, right? That
I think it's just Oregon, isn't it?
I think it's Oregon and somebody else. I can't remember. I don't think it's just Oregon. But
anyway,
nonetheless,
it's a good thing. I am firmly on board with it.
Absolutely. You can go to Switzerland.
Right.
There's I believe Denmark. I'm not going to continue on with my speculation. I think the Netherlands has it.
You are going to continue. You just said you weren't, and then you did.
But nonetheless, it's a really good thing. But Canada is going to be pushing their boundaries that they currently have established into a new area, which is to include mentally ill folk in those who would be eligible for doctor assisted death. And they're not alone in that either. There are other places in the world that have decided to do that, including the Netherlands, which I think has been doing it since like 2002, according to this article. But Canada will start allowing this in March of 2023. And they are in the process right now of establishing the guidelines. But it would allow people to end their life for conditions as depression, bipolar disorder, personality disorders, schizophrenia, PTSD, and probably a much longer list than that of other mental afflictions. Sure. It's really interesting because, like, cancer shows up on a scan, right? Or you can see it. You can see its progression, and you can see the physical effects, the pain, the suffering, the illness. It
becomes very obvious.
Exactly.
At some point.
And so, like, among the myriad other physical ailments that could possibly, qualify for medical assisted suicide. Yeah. There's that evidence, right? That's that you can look at, you can point at, and there's kind of, there's going to be a natural end that's coming anyway. Right.
Right.
It's just people deciding to die on their own terms. Right.
And not to live in severe pain.
Exactly.
And that sort of thing.
But with mental illness, the
pain isn't visible.
The pain isn't visible. And so the questions are a lot more difficult, and these lines are a lot harder to set up, like, ethical boundaries, right? And guidelines.
Sure.
And so they're struggling. They're not struggling. They might be struggling, but they're working through that right now. And I just think it's such a fascinating thing to kind of think about, because, like, also we have this sense of, like, many things like depression. You get over depression, right? That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
You work through it. You take this medication, blah, 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 and now your depression is cured and you're happy, right?
Right.
But we know
you just got to hold on for that little while longer.
But there is also sort of treatment resistant depression as well.
Yeah.
Like people who don't get over it, and so forth and so on, with all of the things that, this article mentions, PTSD and all this, like bipolar disorder, like so many, like we consider them treatable and things that you should either treat and live with, or treat and get over. Right.
Right.
And it just adds this question of, like, I mean, I have an unease with it. I have to admit, like, I'm really uneasy about this.
Sure. These are not easy questions.
Yeah.
If you find this all easy, I don't think you're thinking hard enough about it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tricky thing. I think that I'm a big supporter of people's right to choose this sort of thing when they die, and
totally.
how and that sort of thing. Because I think that everybody's life is their own. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with it, but man, yeah, it's and then you hear the religious people and they start to scream and shout about it. It's like, you know what? You just go and meet somebody who's in constant pain.
Yeah.
And then see how immoral it is.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, something has been brewing down under.
Oh.
In Australia. Now, and this was sent in to us by several of our Aussie listeners. Thank you. I am fascinated by this.
Okay.
So here in these United States, when you give money to a charity, that money is tax deductible.
Okay.
You can write that off of your taxes.
Yeah.
And in the United States, tithing is considered charitable donation.
Correct.
Now,
No.
I have long objected to that because it is not a charitable donation. It is just membership dues, and that's a different thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And what I did not know is that other parts of the world agree with me. I had no idea. Apparently, Australia and I think Canada and some other places don't count tithing as charitable giving, and therefore it is not tax deductible.
Oh, wow. Good for them.
Which I think is great and exactly where you need to be. So good for you. But the church, the Mormon church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, has been cheating.
What?
I had no idea about this, but it turns out, or at least there are allegations made, that what the church has done is started a different organization that they claim is a charitable organization, and they've been having their members donate to that.
What?
So that their members can get their full tax deductible status on their what would have been their tithing.
So they're saying don't give to the church directly your tithing money.
This isn't quote unquote tithing. This is you're giving to a charitable trust.
But are they being let off the hook for paying tithing?
Yeah.
So they're saying give 10% of your income to this charitable trust instead of to us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it looks like the doors are being blown off of this thing. It's early in the game, and so we don't know what's happening, but people who were inside the church in fairly senior roles are now blowing the whistle.
Oh my God.
And it's amazing.
Just more evidence that it's just about the money for the Mormons.
Yeah. I mean, hell, at least they're trying to look out for their parishioners. They're not just doing a cash grab for themselves.
Yeah, but guaranteed they get more money. If it's a tax deduction, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's probably easy for them to spin it to the membership as, we're just trying to help you guys out. No. They're 100% looking out for themselves. And I want to know what this charitable trust, what it does and what it owns, so forth and so on.
Apparently, it doesn't, just like the rest of the Mormon church, it doesn't do much. Like here's what we know about the Mormon church, and we'll be talking about this a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah.
But we know that this is a church that has $100+ billion lying around.
Yeah.
Like just invested in funds. And they're not doing fuck all with it.
Right.
For the longest time, their charitable giving was like in the tens of millions.
Right.
When they've got hundreds of billions.
Yeah.
It was like literally, and I think they've ramped it up since everybody found out, and they've done like $1 billion or something.
No, there's no way.
It's still not that much.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Even at their best, I give more to charity as a percentage of my income.
Oh, sure.
As a percentage of my wealth and income, I give like orders of magnitude more to charity than they do.
Right.
And and as someone in this article from the Sydney Morning Herald pointed out, this is a guy who used to work for the church. They don't set up schools.
Right.
They don't set up hospitals. They don't have homeless shelters. They don't have places for women to escape when they've been in bad marriages. They, like, the main charitable giving that they do is they give their own members food when they're down on their luck.
Yeah.
And some clothing. But, like, do they do anything for anybody else? Not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're giving some to, I saw something about they're giving something to Ukraine. So that's good.
Oh, well, that's nice.
But literally as a percentage, when you look at it as a percentage of their holdings and of their income,
yeah,
it's disgusting. And now to find out that they're basically committing tax fraud in Australia is astounding. Oh my God, I hope they get in so much trouble.
Oh, golly.
So there you go. That's that. If you have anything, if you want to blow the whistle on your former church, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. Our
Please.
telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming right up.
Well, Frank,
Dan.
there is a right-wing evangelist.
Oh.
I mean,
Just
there's
one?
a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
No, there's more. There's plenty. This one is a guy named Mario Murillo.
Ooh. Okay.
Who has some stuff to, I'll just let him say it. It's fine. He's preaching, and I think he's making just a lot of sense.
All right, cool.
This is a war between good and evil. And you got to decide which side you're on. Are you on the side of good or are you on the side of evil? And if you cannot renounce critical race theory, you are a racist. Because you need to understand the mechanism. Look at me. The mechanism. The devil looked down on earth and saw the strides America had made toward racial equality. How the doors had blown wide open, regardless of your color. I remember what church used to be like. It wasn't just racial equality. We were so full of God that we didn't even know what color you were. And we didn't care. The Democratic Party is of Satan, and every true American has got to rise up and stop it right now.
Frank,
Dan.
if you, critical race theory.
Boo!
So, oh my God. If any of these people, can we just, I'll just reiterate something that we've said many times, which is just that critical race theory is only taught in like law school, and it's not to do with anything. Yeah. They're just making shit up about it. If any of these people could adequately define critical race theory, I would eat my hat. However, you gotta love the, I don't even see color. We didn't even see color.
Oh my God. Just shut up.
Please never ever say I don't see color. That is a bad take. That's a bad look.
What country was he living in? That we
Right?
had race all figured out in this country.
The doors were blown wide open, Frank. There was no racism, and then the Democrats came in with their critical race theory.
Race theory comes along.
And suddenly it's all racist, but against whites.
Oh, yeah, that's what
That's all they care about.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus Christ.
Hey, you're making me feel bad. You're making me think about my people, in a way that I'm uncomfortable with. Don't do that.
Don't talk about white people like that.
You're racist and you're mean. That's what's going on.
That's awesome.
Anyway. Look, we had some folks write into us, call into us. We had a voicemail.
Yeah.
We got all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to just dive right into that. Rob wrote in to talk about, you and I had a discussion, Frank, about hero worship.
Oh, yeah.
If you'll recall, and the fact that we're again it. We don't like it. So Rob said, "Hey, Frank and Dan, I'm glad you discussed hero worship on your most recent episode. It's like we learned the wrong lessons from Me Too. Like the problem was we were idolizing the wrong men. So let's toss out Bill Cosby, Louis C.K., and every other guy caught being a monster, and instead Bring in a new slate of men to idolize, like Tom Hanks, Fred Rogers, and Chris Evans. It's like Dan said, at some point we're setting ourselves up for disappointment if we keep doing that. I think we need to get better about nuance. I admire Einstein for his contributions to physics and his political views, but under no circumstances would I look to him for an example of a healthy relationship. Dr. King's marital infidelity does not minimize his contributions to the civil rights movement. Hitchens was 100% wrong in his endorsement of the Iraq War, but still absolutely correct in his condemnation of Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
On the other hand, some folks do things that are so awful that maybe nothing else they say or do is worth considering. It gets into weighing the good versus the bad that a person did in a way that I don't feel qualified to judge, especially if the harm was to a group I'm not in. I'm a cishet white guy. There are things that I'll never experience that would be wildly presumptuous for me to speak about. It also begs the question about redemption or rehabilitation. If someone attempts to repair the harm they did, when do we let them back into the cool kids club?
Yeah.
And those are all very, very good questions. I don't have any answers.
Me neither. Yeah.
But I do agree that like that has to be part of the conversation.
We got to get
like
to
we
that
have
point.
to be able to talk about when is redemption possible and what does that road look like? And who do we let back in? And who needs to stay away?
Yeah. Do I ever get to eat a Jell-O pudding pop ever again in my life? Wasn't that Bill Cosby?
That was Bill Cosby. It's true. Oh man.
I am so against Bill Cosby. I won't eat Jell-O. And what else did he endorse?
That is, I
don't care what those precocious kids have to say. I have to say, I don't care.
It doesn't matter how darned it is. Anonymous wrote into us and said, I just wanted to add another voice to the discussion about people who have left church in response to the pandemic. My husband and I both started deconstructing our Christian upbringings after the 2016 election. Gee, why would that have done anything? But the not so Christian response to the pandemic was the last straw for both of us. We have since found a hiking group that meets most weekends, often on Sundays, and jokingly refer to it as our new church. We get all the benefits of community and togetherness with others without any of the bullshit. We are both more agnostic than atheist at this point, but I still love listening to your podcast. Keep up the great work and keep positive. There are many more of us who are waking up. When I think of friends that I grew up with in our fundy, quiverful church, most of the genuinely kind ones have also found their way out.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the trend line. We are winning and they're losing, and we're not even sending missionaries out.
Yeah. We're not even trying.
You and I do a podcast literally every week about it.
Okay. So we've been trying.
Maybe we're trying a little, but we're mostly just talking to other atheists.
Yeah.
We're not actually trying to convert anybody.
Proselytizing.
Yeah. We have a voicemail, eh?
We do. This listener is responding to, we talked about Clarence Thomas last week. There was a case before the Supreme Court. We don't have to get into the particulars of the case, but Clarence Thomas in his dissent questioned the sincerity of the plaintiff's religiously held position, his beliefs and whatnot.
Hey, Frank and Dan. Just listening to this week's episode. Your analysis, Clarence Thomas, kind of scared me. The fact that he is now deciding how religious a person is, evaluating whether their faith is real or not. That's kind of a scary concept. And I don't know if he's setting that up for future court cases that try to challenge Christian superiority by, Satanic Temple, for instance, saying that their religion is not real. They're just using it to game the system. just something that came to me. Anyways, love the show. Thank you guys for all you do, and food for thought.
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
It's it's a scary court right now. Thankfully, we got a new court member. So while we didn't move the needle in terms of like getting the court any more reasonable, at least there will be a good, hopefully a powerful voice.
Yeah. Also a younger voice than the voice that's being replaced, which is critical. Like, these old liberals.
She's not one of these teenagers that the Republicans are trying to put on there.
But I'll take a 50-something-year-old.
Yeah,
Totally.
She'll
be there for a while.
Hooray for her! I'm excited about her.
Yeah.
Anyway, one more email. This is from John in Melbourne, Australia. Hi, John, who says, "Hi there. I found your segment on the Mormon Heavenly Mother very interesting, but unsatisfying. I wanted to know more. She does sound awfully Catholic, but I'm a mere fallen Methodist, so what would I know? Would you be able to expound a little more on her backstory, please? Is there a Mormon pantheon, and where does she fit in?" No, we can't expound on it anymore. You literally know as much as we do about her. You're not allowed to talk about her. She's not real. Literally, like, the Mormon Church tries desperately to never say anything about her.
Yeah, I mean, but they've had to. Like, even this last conference, they had to bring her up because the topic is out there, right? I don't know, the history of it's just buried deep in Mormon theology, right? Like,
well, as you pointed out, I think she was kind of made up by Eliza Snow, by one of Joseph Smith's wives.
Yeah.
And he just was like, sure, that sounds right. That sounds good.
Yeah.
And then it was canon, but nobody wants it. Like, none
of the men, none of the old men want it. Yeah.
And they're all in charge. So they just avoid the topic.
Yeah.
So basically what we know is that God has a wife, at least one wife.
Probably more.
And she's just there to vacuum heaven and get sandwiches.
And spew forth spirit babies.
Yeah.
Billions
by the billions
of spirit babies.
Presumably, literally, like, as Mormons frequently imagine it, she is like birthing them in some way. I don't know if they're imagining like a vaginal thing.
I mean, while never expressly stated, I never could imagine it working in any sort of different way. Of course it's vaginal.
She's just pumping out billions upon billions of spirit babies.
Yeah, just wisps constantly.
Like a slot machine that pays out. Anyway.
Yeah, like it's spewing forth.
Ding, 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 ding.
I mean, it would have to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, although I think she did it obviously because, like, we're still working off the back stock. Right.
Right.
Like, she did this a long time ago.
Before now to do it.
She's not maybe necessarily doing it now. She got it out of her system.
She's resting.
Some sort of spiritual menopause of some kind that can be unpaused. So
yeah,
probably.
Yeah, well,
who knows? I mean, it's all very complicated.
God, all
and
things are
exciting
possible.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? But sorry, John, we really genuinely don't have more information than that.
I like the idea, like the question of a pantheon for the Mormons. There's not, but they do.
But it is technically a polytheistic religion in the sense that, yes, there's only one God for us.
Yeah.
But there's gods for other places.
Yeah.
And we could become gods ourselves.
Exactly.
And so, Anyway, there you go. I mean, technically, anyone who claims to believe in the Bible should fully embrace polytheism. There are multiple other gods mentioned and talked about as actual living beings in the Bible. But everybody just glosses over that stuff. Anyway, hey, I just want to thank a new contributor. So thanks to Simon, who has given us a donation on PayPal, and Simon, you now are a deacon in the we confer upon you all the priesthood powers and blessings that come with that, which is of course nothing. It's just pretend magic, but we got as much pretend magic as the Mormons do. So boom, congratulations!
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Let's just say that, like, if you want to be cool like Simon and give us your money, which we think you should, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com and just click on the support tab, and that'll get you there, and then you'll be one of our favorite people, just like Simon is, and that makes you better than the other listeners. So it's like getting medallion status when you're flying on Delta or whatever. It's just makes you better. Don't be one of the hoi polloi. Don't be the peasants.
Oh, you used that correctly, Dan. The hoi polloi. People think it means it's fancy.
Oh no.
It's hoi is the, polloi is people. Hoi polloi.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you so much, and we have one more person to thank.
As always, Dan, we have our top donor, and things have been shifting around. So we got somebody old but new to thank this week.
What?
As our top donor, our Lord and Savior, Demonium.
Oh, snap! Demonium's back, baby. Came roaring in. Nice. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We sure do appreciate you. More show to come.
Dan.
Yeah.
We live in a funny little city, Salt Lake City.
In a goofy state. It's the weird part of the world, I'll tell you what, folks.
And one of the things that makes it weird isn't just the fact that, like, the Mormons are everywhere, right? And the Mormon churches are, just fill up the scenery, right?
There are literally parts of this state where you can stand in one place and see 3 Mormon churches from your vantage point. Just not high on a hill, just like within a 3-block radius of you.
There are now places high up on a hill where you can see multiple temples all within your view. But a lot of that, it has to do with the fact that the Mormon church is able to fund this building project. And they have no problem funding it. Thanks
as
to their
we've alluded to
billions of invested dollars, but the building up a large portfolio of religious edifices would not surprise anyone about a church, right? Like you would expect them, they're going to own buildings where people can go and quote unquote worship in. Although,
unlike what you'd imagine other churches would do, what I would imagine a church would do, as this church has gained money, their edifices have gotten worse. They all, every new building that they build looks worse than the last one. They're getting uglier and stupider
because they run it as a business. And that's
I just can't imagine it.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
But that's what corporate America does, right?
Yeah.
The more profitable a company becomes, the cheaper the products, the more corners cut. They squeeze every dollar out of every opportunity, right?
It's like Gordon Gekko is the president of the church. I don't understand it, but there you go.
Well, nonetheless, like you mentioned in your story, how they've got billions and billions of dollars around, and they do nothing with regards to homeless shelters, soup kitchens, charity hospitals,
right,
so forth and so on, right?
Yeah.
These are not things that the Mormons do, not in any sort of recognizable way where you would go, oh, wow, look at all of the charitable work that this organization does. Now,
Correct.
They do give in the tens of millions of dollars every year, charitable aid and assistance. A lot of that is, like you said before, to their own members.
Right.
But they are, dishing out compared to the billions, a microscopic amount of money, right?
Yeah.
This week got worse for them on the front of like how things look for the Mormons.
I mean, it doesn't seem possible, but I'll bear with you.
Well,
while you make the case.
The more you could possibly know about their holdings, the worse this is going to look. And there was a big dump this week, a big expose that came out that is showing an unfathomable amount of real estate holdings in the United States. This is only their holdings in the United States. And we know they have massive holdings
So this doesn't even
elsewhere.
include, because we know that they have massive holdings in like Australia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No,
And
this is I believe it was in to the tune of 11 point something billion is what they're estimating, just based on like county records, like assessed value of the property for tax purposes. And so they added it all up, and it is kind of the point of what I'm trying to talk about, and I'm missing the number right now. But adjusted, they think it's upwards of actual like market value. Oh yeah, here it is, $11.8 billion set by county assessors for tax purposes, but with a market value of at least $15.8 billion. Now let's talk about what they have. They have exhibition halls, libraries, museums, schools. Obviously, those sound very connected to sort of a lot of what they do. They have, church museums here and there. They have BYU and so forth and so on. But in addition to that, they own property in at least 3,120 cities and towns in this country. They have property in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. And it ranges from vast farm holdings. They recently outbid Bill Gates on, let's see, it was some piece of, it's a Bill Gates owned company. They, with an offer of $209 million to buy Easter Day Ranch in Eastern Washington. It was in bankruptcy proceedings at the time. And the ranch includes 12,000 acres of potato, onion, and cattle lands, as well as valuable water rights. So they just snatched that away from Bill Gates. He wanted it too. But
they had to love that. I'll bet they did it just so that they could brag to each other that they fucked Bill Gates out of something.
They literally own in excess of 2% of the state of Florida. Seriously, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be, again,
we're not talking about places that they're
whatnot.
putting churches. We're not talking about the land that they're using for church-based things.
No.
We're talking about investment properties. We're talking about money-making investments.
Yeah. They have, let's see, the holdings include areas assessed for use as island resorts, hotels, airports, golf courses, amusement parks, theaters, vineyards, warehouses, truck stations, funeral homes, health clubs, mines, and cemeteries. So a lot of this is going to be undeveloped land. They own grand swaths of property throughout America, throughout the suburbs, to sell to developers. Right. They've specifically targeted those lands for purchase. Just last year, they bought a 200-room residence inn by Marriott on Maui for $100 million.
Oh, you're going there. You're going to be staying in that very Marriott.
Yeah, right. Let's see. I'm really jumping around a lot. Let's see. What else did I mark in this article? If you hear a newspaper rustling around, it's because it's a newspaper. In Philadelphia, They own a 30-story apartment tower.
Wow.
In Chicago, they own a 40-story residential tower in the South Loop. It doesn't end. Like,
No.
You look in every corner of America, the Mormons own something. And it's not going to say that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns it. It'll be some sort of property reserve, something or other, or the company that bought the Bill Gates thing or scooped it away from, that was something called Agra Northwest.
So they have these shell companies that they do their business with.
Oh, they own a $106 million complex in Dallas-Fort Worth that houses that they lease to the aerospace and defense firm Raytheon.
Oh my gosh.
They own a complex in Austin and another in Minnetonka, Minnesota, both valued at over $40 million. The list contains up to $696 million in residential lands. I was just talking about that in places such as Tulsa, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Missouri, Lafayette, Indiana, Albany, Georgia, and Modesto, California. And one of their
they're covering your entire history, Frank.
It's everywhere I've ever lived. And one of the models that it seems like they're kind of developing is that they redevelop, like if they need to, they'll totally redevelop around one of the temples, putting in like, they kind of figured that out with the City Creek Mall here in Salt Lake. And they just finished something up in Mesa, Arizona, apparently that was modeled very closely on, not to the same scale, but it's the same concept, with building out a nice outdoor mall and putting in lots of residential units, so forth and so on. So they also improve the areas around their other holdings too. So,
well, they in Paris, they built a beautiful Versailles that looks just lovely. Did you know that the Mormon church in Paris is like right next to Versailles?
No.
It's like across the street.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the temple?
It's it's relatively new. The
No
temple
way.
is,
that's really
so cheesy.
Awful. But the point of bringing this up isn't to scare you that the Mormons probably own, that empty field out behind your house.
They own your building. Just they own you. They own everything about you.
But I mean, here's to put it a little bit more into like, to have a good perspective on this. They're the 5th largest private real estate owning entity in America. Ted Turner owns more than they do. And a couple like old money families that just have like massive holdings. And then somebody else, there was another name that you would recognize. They own more than the Mormon church real estate wise. Otherwise, but they also believe that sort of, the value of the holdings, the Mormon church probably is the number one real estate holder in the country.
And we probably don't know everything.
Because
these numbers are not from the church. These numbers are from people doing tireless work uncovering shit.
Yeah.
And the church is not giving away this information. The church doesn't.
Oh no.
They never confirm these numbers. We know that it's true because they look at tax records and they look at all kinds of that kind of shit. But it is it's not easy getting that, to nail these guys down. So
no. But like, again, when we bring this up though, one just has to consider the moral failure of this organization.
Oh yeah.
Like how can they possibly hold themselves up as, as followers of Christ,
Right.
Not to commit a fallacy here, but like how can they possibly consider themselves Christians or just a charitable organization? How could they possibly consider this to be a good thing to have these vast holdings and to give so little back?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to me.
It's absurd. it's unconscionable, really.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be getting away with it. Just like the thing in Australia, they shouldn't, donations to them should not be tax deductible at this point. Like, they are just a land holding corporation.
Yeah.
And anyone who says otherwise is just kidding themselves.
Yeah. The Mormon Church could lose all of its members tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
they'd be just
they're
fine.
going to be fine. They'll be absolutely fine. In fact, probably better off.
They'd be happier. They should they should ditch the church part. What are they doing?
They've moved so far beyond the church part. It's time that they just own up to it.
Yeah.
And just be like,
just a vanity project at this point.
Oh, golly gee. Well, there you have it.
Yeah, Mormons, there are good Mormons out there.
Sure.
There are people who are good people.
There are even generous Mormons out there.
But
the church itself.
But the church itself is a fucking disaster. And I just, don't let them convince you otherwise.
Oh, I don't think our listeners would be fooled by too much of that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they would be. Not with us shitting on them all the time. Anyway, listen, if you have anything to say about this, or if you'd like to brag about your land holdings, please feel free to write into us. podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leaves a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, hey, go to the Facebook page, would you? Click on the like button, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And if you'd like to join one of our members only lounges, they're really great. You can go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members only.
Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thank you to all of you for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.